All right. Welcome back to another episode. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Christian Clay. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of buying a DR Horton home in the state of Florida. We're going to keep this quick, clean, and concise because we've helped a lot of people buy DR Horton homes. And so we want to make sure that this is a route for you to at least view and see, hey, is this the builder for me? Okay, so we'll keep it nice and easy. Hopefully everybody's having a great day. Happy Friday. All right. Number one, pro to DR Horton is they are consistent. Okay, they are consistent with being America's number one builder. They build the most homes. They are consistent with being very realtor friendly. They do understand in this type of market that people want to have representation, that's not from the builder, right? Somebody on the outside. And so they're consistently incentivizing agents to help bring buyers over to them. And they're consistent with their incentives for our buyers. So they don't really, and we'll talk more about like the cons to them, but like when I say consistent, like they don't really fluctuate too much, right? They don't go too high with their incentives. They don't go too low with their incentives. They don't really drop their prices a lot. But they're just very kind of right down that middle. So that's something that we don't really see a lot of crazy surprises with DR Horton. Okay. So consistency to me is really good because of the buying process being, it's such a long process to people, especially if it's your first time. Most people going to DR Horton are going to be those first time buyers. And so consistency, at least you know what you're going to be getting, right? The second pro, if I just write, let me help you guys out, right? The second pro to DR Horton is going to be their coverage. And you're going to realize I'm not a writer. Why is that a pro, right? If you like the Hayden model of theirs, there's a great chance that you can find that model in the next city over or the next pocket of homes over, right? So they have coverage for your liking. And it's as simple as that. If you like something, they don't have it in that community. Whereas some other builders, you may like a particular floor plan and you have to go a lot further away, which will then narrow your choices down, to making that exception. Like, okay, cool. Maybe we have to stick here or maybe we have to drive a little further to get what we like. So coverage is important. Once again, that kind of falls in line with consistency as well. And then lastly, and you guys are probably not going to be prepared for this one, but I'm going to say there. Customer service. That's an R, by the way, people. Customer service. So believe it or not, you would think with them being America's number one builder that you would be another number, and you are another number. Don't get me wrong, but they're actually great at responding back to you. Now, if you're somebody that purchased a DR Horton home and you're like, well, that's not true. I had an issue with them. Well, I'm not saying they're perfect. By any means, by any means. But I will say I'm slightly surprised when you look back at the amount of people that we've helped with different builders, that DR Horton is actually really good with their service. Like they actually pick up the phone, they respond to you, they try. There's some good and bad in there. Like I always think that you still have to have the right rep working for you. And that's our job. Like we find the reps that we like in these communities that can sell in other communities, that we know are going to work on the weekends and their days off. And so we try to make sure that we keep those people as our preferred reps because we want the process to be smooth for you all. But yeah, slightly surprised, like when you compare them to Lennar and some of these other builders, like they do stand out. I feel like they have a good quality customer service team. Once again, it's not the best customer service in the world, but I do think it's something that I should put out there for you all to, for you to know. All right, so let's get to the cons then. How come cons gets a square and pros doesn't? So the cons to DR Horton, one is going to be lack of variety. We're giving you a piece of content every day, so hang in there. But I promise you, handwriting is going to get better. Spelling is going to get better. It's just going to get better. Make sure you're subscribed. So lack of variety. You do not have a lot of options to choose from with DR Horton. Okay. They're very convenient. I probably should have put that as another pro of theirs. They're convenient because they're there, and the next city over is probably going to have the same model if you need it. but the lack of variety. So you may have four, five, six floor plans in a community to choose from. And of that floor plan, you're probably going to get 3 different packages just stamped throughout the community. Okay. So the lack of variety, it's convenient for people, but once again, you may be having an exception for picking something that's going to really pop and stand out as a unique home inside of your community. Okay. If you're here still, hit the like button for me. Give you on another deal. By the way, these are DR Horton homes that we're just running through here. The second thing that I'm going to say for their cons will be volume. This is what you guys are here for. I know why you clicked on the video. You're like, okay, cool. He's going to trash DR Horton and he's going to talk about how terrible they are. Well, they're America's #1 builder, right? So they have a lot of homes. Volume is good and bad. Volume could be good and bad, but I think it hurts more than helps, because the more volume you have, the more quality control you then have to watch over. And I'm here to say that DR Horton as the builder is not the controller of the quality of the product as much as the construction manager or the person in the actual community that is building the home, that's hiring the painters, that's hiring the carpenters, that's outsourcing everything. So you're only going to be as good as the construction manager in that community and the amount of, good quality help that they're going to be getting that don't work for DR Horton. You got to remember, these are self-contracted people that are coming in, that are doing the roofs, that are doing the trusses, that are doing the painting and all of that stuff. Now, the material may be the same, but what I've noticed is when you're walking through a DR Horton home, community A, community B, same home, one community might have a lot of touch-ups of paint that they need to get on, right? There may be some stucco kind of lumps in some of the stucco. It's just not the best of a job. And then the same home, same price, maybe in community B, maybe almost perfect, right? And because they're outsourcing in an area that people are taking a little more pride in the amount of work that they're doing. So volume can hurt them and has hurt them. I think that's the one thing people are going to say. DR Horton is a low quality builder. Well, it's good and bad. Like the more you do, then the more good you have, the more bad you have. Okay. And then lastly, I'm going to say is incentives. I promise you I'll get better at that. The incentives, the incentives kind of align with the consistency part of things, right? Their incentives are never too low, never too high, always at that same mark. And I feel like they always leave off a couple $1,000s that cover your entire closing costs, right? So if you're going into a DR Horton home and you have a little bit of leftover where they're like, hey, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars for your closing costs and prepaids, and then, your cash to close is still going to be, an extra $2,000 out of your pocket. That's kind of like that little bit of wiggle room that they have to help you out, right? And that's if you fight for it. If you don't fight for it, they'll just take it from you, right? Obviously at cash to close, but usually that's them. They got that little bit in their pocket where they're just like, hey, you know what? I'll cover that last $2,000. And you're like, oh, cool. Thank you so much. Now they do run deals when they have incentives. They have like the red tag event. And in my opinion, it's more so like pushing high marketing than anything, because the red tag event, they may knock the price down a tad. They may add a washer and dryer in there, which they don't typically do. But more so it's driving that marketing to get you guys in the door. Then they hit you with some customer service, and you can't fault them for it. That's what businesses do. Another pro that I'm going to, if you're still here, you're going to be grateful for this one, is they do a block on block. They do a block on block build, meaning 2-story home. Everybody can see that. Man, I promise you I'll get better. Here's your bottom floor. Your bottom floor is typically a block, and most builders will do a wood frame on top. DR Horton is one of the only, especially like on the national level, that will do another block on top. Block on block, better insulation, more peace of mind for you. There's some other builders that do it, but they're not those national builders, right? I know one that we've recently closed was more of a luxury builder, and they'll do a block on block, okay? Another reason why block on block is cool too is because then you can get that entire stucco on the outside look, right? Where you got stucco all the way across the top and bottom. Some people like it, some people don't. The other route that you would see with some builders is they'll do like the hardy board planking on the top, right? And then the block on the bottom. But if you like stucco on stucco, block on block is good because wood in Florida, when it gets moist and it sits and it does all of that good stuff, it moves around a little bit and the stucco can then crack. So there you have it. That's just kind of scratching the surface of the pros and cons of buying with DR Horton in Florida. By no means is this the most detailed video of that. I could promise you we can give you that. We can show you examples of homes that we've closed on and maybe even, talk about some of the things that we found on inspection reports, so on and so forth. But I hope if you're somebody that was asking yourself, is DR Horton for me? Like, where do they fall in the realm of things? I hope this video did help you out. Okay. And if it did, hit the like button for me. Happy Friday to everybody. A piece of content every single day. And if you respect that, make sure you subscribe. Let's get this to 1,000 subs in like a couple days. Cool. Catch you guys on the next one.